Ace Podcast.
You'll go to school, straight to school, and you'll come straight home. You got it?
I'm not going back to that school. They're waiting for me.
Oh, you'll go. If I have to tie to the desk myself, you'll go. No music.
It's porno.
You're porno. Oh. Poop. Sorry, pal. No more flogging the bishop.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from themooninsdeadworld.net. I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
And we're back for a new episode for our 90s Slasher Month. It's a lot of fun last week. If you tuned in, you know we covered Urban Legend, which we had seen a million times because it would play all the time on the best cable channels and pretty much every channel around Halloween time. It's an easy film to get, I guess.
Yeah. Filled us with great nostalgia from the 90s.
Exactly. We had a lot of fun because of that nostalgia. And
today's no different.
That's right. I mean, it's a little bit different in that it doesn't. I don't think it has as much as Urban Legend. It's different, certainly different style of like throwback in this film, but I think that it may not have as much as Urban Legend, but it's still a lot of fun.
I would say this is also a super 90s film.
Mm-hmm.
To go along with our great new intro that you put together.
That's right. I did put that together on your recommendation that we do a special intro for this 90s Slasher Month because we normally do special intros for this specific months that we do. And obviously, we wanted to make it nostalgic, kind of melodramatic in the style of the 90s, like what they would normally have, and also tie in with all the films that we're doing. So, managed to do that by throwing some Paula Cole at you, and then kind of morphing that into the deaths from all of the films that we're covering for 90 Slasher Month, so
yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed it.
So pay attention, children, because at the end of the month there's going to be a quiz on which Scream is from where.
That's true. It's not technically in the order that we're doing the movies, so take a close gander at that and let us know.
It'd be like one of those fun, like hard bullshit online quizzes people like to take. Like,
yeah,
I
make those.
Bruce Campbell was in a shit ton of movies. Here's 10 obscure movies that he was in. Guess what movie he's in by the poster.
That's right. Yeah, I do those all the time for myself.
No, man, it's not just you. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's fun. They're very difficult, and that's why I like making them because no one wants to be like, what kind of weapon does Ash use in Army of Darkness? Like, what's attached to his arm? It's like, oh, okay, What's his favorite catchphrase? No, those are way too easy. So you got to go with the really obscure stuff, like, what other films was Bruce Campbell in besides
Bubba Hotep?
Yeah, Bubba Hotep and Army of Darkness, something like that. It's fun to do. It's fun to quiz people on stuff like that, and to get mad because they don't know the answer and like, this is a shitty quiz. Well, it's supposed to be.
That would be me.
That's right. But today we're talking about The Faculty from 1998. So we're in the late 90s, almost to the point where in this film you can kind of see where we're reaching that turning point of like late 90s into early 2000s, kind of the stylistic changes that are going on.
Well, if you think about it too, as we talked, because Urban Legend's from 98 too. If you think about it, the jump from 98 to 99.
Yeah.
After the Matrix, it's like, wow. What a difference a year.
There's a huge difference from that, and then even getting into like 2000, and I attribute all of that to Y2K. There's a big like, fuck, our computers are gonna destroy us all sort of thing there. That
I was more excited about Y2J, the coming of Chris Jericho from WCW to the WWF. But no, you know what? I like one of the great things, kind of like doing this whole '90s month. Kind of get a little off topic, but it deals with the whole nostalgia factor. Is if you look at it and you think about it, like pop culture type things from like the '50s up until the early 2000s, you can tell from in each decade, like the transition over like year by year, and like where breaking points are and where they break. Like for us, if you look at like the early '90s, you can tell the early '90s are so much different. Like 1994 is so much different than 1997.
Yeah, definitely.
Like only that like small window. There's a huge change. It's not just like the '90s. Like
it's pretty much every decade. That
where I think this is different is I don't really see that in like from 2003 to now. I mean, like there definitely
has been some huge changes in like fashion from the '00s till now, but
there's nothing like
it may be hard because we're so embroiled in it and still are embroiled in it.
Well, not though that I understand that's true, but like if I think about it, like there's nothing like that's like sticks. Maybe in 10 years when we'll be further removed, I'll be able to like pinpoint.
Right.
But when if I sit down and think about it, it's really hard to think of like specific things that kind of
that stand out as like different. That really like, shifted
as like noticeable like changes. Yeah. Like when you go from like
airport security.
Well,
a little bit different.
No, I mean, like if you look at like the late '70s into the '80s, you can see you can see the transition. Like disco died in '79.
Absolutely.
So some of that shit is still lingering on the '80s as we transition to like new wave, and then like how that like you can see like the progression clear. Same like the '90s. And
I mean, I think the biggest thing with that is that you have like when you're entering that space between like the decade, you have that crossover where it's like some of that stuff from before is still cool and some people are still late to get out of it, and so you kind of have that crossover where there's not once you get into the later years, then yes, like people who were late to like figure out the trends, they're now on to the next thing.
If you think about it, like a perfect example of that would be like the late '80s, like when like the neon, like the Miami Vice, like full bloom, and that still translates to the early '90s, but it's even more accentuated.
Right.
Like so when you think of like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and like even like like go DJ, go,
exactly,
and then like once like grunge happens, it's like bam, and then
yeah, and I mean like you see that in the Faculty really well, as like there's not very much crossover between like those early '90s days and the late '90s. There's a lot of a different sort of like look and feel to it. And even how like movies are created and movies and TV shows at that time, like The Faculty is a good example of how different, that whole idea of like creating a movie and what kind of soundtrack are you going to use for it. That's changing quite a bit. I mean, and in this case, in The Faculty, I think even a little bit more so than when we covered Urban Legend, like a lot of the soundtrack really stands out as like, wow, that's a very late '90s, early 2000s soundtrack.
Well, I'd say because Urban Legend relied more on an actual.
Score, but this one, this one does have a score too, and it does have a very orchestral score at times, but it also works heavily to get those soundtracks music in. It really wants to get that like,
especially in those transition scenes. Like here's the school and all the the goofy shit. Let's play The Offspring. The kids aren't all right because
yes.
Again, that's like, so...
It's how the movie greets you.
I know.
Offspring.
It's awesome.
But you definitely... But like I said, I think this is a little... Even though, they're around the same time, I think the Faculty is a little bit different than Urban Legend and how it comes off in, like, the nostalgic factor. It's pretty interesting to see, like, that transition. And it's something that... growing up in that time, and even we're really not, I wouldn't consider myself a 90s kid because I was legitimately a kid that I don't remember a whole lot specifically about the 90s.
I remember better than I remember the two. Like I said,
Well, I mean, it kind of morphs into the 2000s for me. I don't really remember like one and the other specifically. I kind of remember them in a fluid thing.
It's not like, to me, I almost feel like when Simple Plan and all of them started hitting the airwaves, I just started to like block out the.
Well, yeah, that may be. And that was my time where I was really into that sort of thing.
No, I think I was like, or by the time I was like 14, I was like, I miss the 90s. I miss Rocco's Modern Life.
I know. All right, let's take a break real quick to talk about our beer selections, because we do have a new set of beer selections today.
We're mixing it up.
That's right. We haven't done anything really like this before, so
we're late on the Cinco de Mayo.
Well, that's right.
Which has nothing to do with
this movie or anything else, or these beers for that matter, because it's not really
what Cinco de Mayo is about. But this is
Exactly.
America.
That's right.
And someone smart in advertising realized good way to sell cervezas in America, pair it with a holiday.
That's right. Give us a second, and we'll come back with some beer talk. Blood and Black Rum Podcast. We'll be back with more after this break. Our sponsor today happens to be us, the Blood and Black Rum Podcast, because we recently just made a new t-shirt design for all of our listeners. You can find the t-shirt design on teespring.com, or you can check it out, and this is probably an easier link, on our website at bloodandblackrumpodcast.wordpress.com. And now back to the show. Hey, thanks for listening to those really cool sponsors. Pick up the shirt. It's a cool shirt. You can wear us on your chest and let everybody know how much you love Blood and Black Rum Podcast.
Summer's coming up.
That's right.
It's gonna get hot.
Perfect time for t-shirts.
Exactly.
All right, so what do we got today?
I don't know. This is your booze. You tell us. All
right, well,
you lead the way. You lead the charge.
Since it was Cinco de Mayo last week, my local Hannaford had a beer pack on sale, probably because it was past Cinco de Mayo. So I picked it up. It's the Cervezas Classica pack. And basically, the reason I picked it up is because I do like Corona in moderation, especially with a lime.
That makes it tolerable.
That
makes it drinkable.
But what I actually really wanted to try was in this pack, they have two classic cervezas that the Modelo makes. And I've never had them before. One is the Victoria, and one is the Pacifico Clara. I've never had either of them before, although I do know that I think around Cinco de Mayo this time they do put out this Classica pack. Never seen it around before, but I really wanted to pick it up because we don't really ever do any Mexican cerveza style on here, and thought it would be a good thing to have. So we started out today with the Victoria, and while I don't think that it's very memorable whatsoever, it is an interesting style.
It's a Vienna lager.
Yeah, it's a Mexican Vienna lager. I don't think it's really that great. Like, there's nothing that stands out to me about it that much.
The Victoria?
Mm-mm.
I think, I mean, I can compare it to like Corona or Pacifico. I never had a Modelo.
Never had a Modelo either.
But I've been curious to try it.
Yeah.
But
sure, it's very similar.
But I'm sure I'd be pretty just annoyed by it. Because I personally don't buy Mexican beers. I don't buy the cervezas. I don't get the point of them.
I like a cerveza from time to time.
I mean, like I said, I think they're all right with a lime.
Mm-hmm.
But that's any just like lighter American style lager. Just shove a fucking lime in it.
Right. Yeah, and you would get a nice
refreshing on a hot summer day.
Yeah.
So there's to me there's no for me, if it's a hot summer day and I'm gonna relax or go to like a party and there's gonna be a fire or something, why would I spend $17 on this when I could get 30-pack of Jenny cream ale for the same price, and it's going to be a deliciously refreshing beer.
I'll tell you, I didn't even have to spend that much on this pack.
No, I know that's why, because if it was its actual normal price
Yeah,
and not on sale,
I would not have.
You wouldn't get it, because around here, a 12-pack of Corona is,
Yeah.
after tax and deposit, it's $17, $18, depending on where around here you get it. Same thing with like Dos Equis and...
Yeah. Actually, I think Dos Equis has come up in price. I think it's a little bit more expensive now than Corona.
But my point is, like, to me, like, the style itself doesn't discern enough for me to warrant paying for it, and me thinking that it's even that enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I don't buy it and I don't drink it. If I'm at a party and someone's got Corona and they hand it to me, I'll fucking drink it.
Right.
You know, someone's handing you a beer.
That's right.
But I'm not gonna go out of my way. I will say though. So that being said, me not being a fan really of cervezas, Mexican styles, I will say I do like the Victoria because you said it tastes just like a normal Corona Extra.
I mean, yeah, it does kind of. Not a Corona Extra, but more like a Corona Light.
Corona Light.
Yes.
So, but to me, I can definitely tell it's a Vienna lager. Because it's to me, I definitely pick up a sweetness on this. It is a very sweet beer,
Yep.
Almost to the like you definitely get the malty sweetness from it. But not only that, it's kind of like sweet enough to where like it almost tastes like a hint of like apple. That's my palate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really get the apple on it.
That could I mean that's like how I describe the sweetness. I wouldn't say it's like you're biting into an apple, but it's
right.
This totally could be, you know how we joke about people when you go on a Beer Advocate and they review beers and they're like just pulling fucking spices out of nowhere out of their ass to describe what they think the beer tastes. Very well could be my palate on this one. But I thought it was okay. I do like the Vienna lager style. But no, it's just okay. I mean, like
yeah, I mean, it doesn't really do that much for me. I probably I wouldn't go out of my way. I mean, not that you ever would see it. Like, just out and about, you know,
well,
like, I'll pick
here,
up a Victoria.
Well, around here, yeah.
I probably wouldn't go out of my way to, like, ever get it again. I do think I prefer Corona Light to Victoria. I actually because this pack also includes Corona Light and Corona Extra. So I made it a point to try both the Corona Light and the Corona Extra.
I've never had Corona Light before.
Oh, okay. So I made it a point to try both of those without a lime, just straight drink a Corona Light and a Corona Extra. And I gotta say I prefer the Corona Light because it is a tad sweeter than the Corona Extra, and it's a very light and refreshing beer. The Corona Extra has a strange bitterness to the end of it that I think really is off-putting, and that's why with that beer specifically, you really do need the lime because it cuts that bitterness a lot. Like it's just almost an overpowering bitterness to the end of that I don't really enjoy, and I'm assuming that's probably what you're getting with when you say it's only drinkable with a lime.
I mean, I haven't had a Corona in fucking
right,
especially on its own. I haven't had a Corona in fucking ages on its own, so I might have to grab one and give it the old college try and see what I think. But because, like I said, it's just a beer style. I've never even tried. I felt so swindled when I bought Dos Equis, after when they first started rolling those most interesting man in the world commercials, I'm like, these are the fucking great. It looks like Wes Anderson directed them. They're the most hipster, amazing, beautiful things in the world. I gotta try this beer, and I bought it, and I was like so heartbroken. Like
it's not
beyond. This isn't even.
It wasn't worth it to you.
No, because again, like $18 for that 12-pack. I sat there and sadly, like sitting in college, like sadly, like, yeah. Could be drinking a lot bad.
Yeah.
Well, I used to think, that
was a good beer.
Yeah.
But the other beer that we have is the Pacifico Clara.
And that just reminds me of a General, like I said.
General Cerveza.
Which, like I said, haven't had like a Dos Equis or a Corona on its own in quite a while. But if I'd have to make like a call back to, I would say, yeah, it's up the same neighborhood.
I agree that this is less sweet than the Victoria. And you're right. It is similar to a Corona Light, Corona Extra. I don't think it's not as tasty or refreshing as Corona Light. It's not as bitter as Corona Extra, so it's somewhere in the middle there. But I wouldn't say that it's like anything that really stands out to me. There's nothing. It's just like it goes down and it just is kind of there.
Here's some watery bread.
Right, exactly. It's just kind of there. And I think that it's no wonder that these two styles have kind of gone by the wayside. Like these brands, and Corona has come to the focal point. That and Dos Equis. And Dos Equis also has an amber, which apparently does pretty well. I've had it one time. I don't really remember it that well, but apparently that does pretty well as well because that's the only two really. The standard 2 Dos Equis. So
I think they do a Dos Equis cerveza pack. I think because that one has like Sol. I've seen it before. It's like Dos Equis and like Sol and like 2 others.
We'd have to get that one too and give that a test.
I think Walmart has it.
Yeah.
I think that's where I've seen it. I don't know if they had it this year, but I know like in years past I've seen it, and I'm like, I'm curious to try you, but again,
now
I'm not gonna.
I was reading in a beer magazine last year that was saying that last year's summer beers, the cerveza was, as a craft beer, was going to come out. Mexican style beers were going to be like the next big thing.
No,
I never really saw that at all last year.
No, they went with Ghost.
But I am a little bit curious to see like what other craft brewers cervezas would be like. Would they be a little bit hardier? Would they be
probably hoppier? Maybe they would probably just throw a shit ton of hops in it. Like, it's our survey. It's Sam Adams presents our new Cerveza Rebel IPA.
I guess my biggest question is that I'm wondering is like, what is the classic cerveza that people think is the best? Like, if you were to pick out like the beer that defines Mexico, the beer that's the definition of like the Mexican cerveza style, what would that be? And I don't really know because we don't get that style. The only, like you said, the only thing we have really is the Corona and the Dos Equis, and that's it. I don't really even know what else is out there. I didn't know about Victoria. I didn't know about Pacifico Clara. I know Modelo as well, but
maybe that's the one.
Maybe that's me. Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it would be because these are all made by Modelo. So it's like, well, but then again, maybe they wanted to make shittier beers for different people.
For America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what other people think of as like the definition of this is a good cerveza. Putting that out there to listeners, what do you think is the definition of a good cerveza? Because I mean, I think Corona Light's pretty good. It's been a while since I've had Dos Equis. I can't really comment on that one that much. But the Victoria and the Pacifico Clara, not what I would consider like a great cerveza. Drinkable, yes. Refreshing, sort of.
I think it'd go pretty good with the lime.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is the epitome of Mexican cerveza is just stick a lime in there.
Kind of like with Blue Moon. Hey, Blue Moon intolerable? Piss poor Belgian wheat ale, just shove an orange on it.
Shove an orange in there, and it does, though. It really does. It makes it like 3 times better to just have an orange there. So, that's my... Normally, we don't send out, like, homework to the listeners, but today I have a proposition for you.
Maybe someone who's listening, their beer style is, like...
They're like, we make a good Mexican style beer. Send it to them. We'll gladly accept. Just email us and we'll send you the address. But yeah, so that's what we got. I did want to cover Mexican style because we don't really do that. We have never really done it. We've done a whole bunch of other stuff. We did tons of IPAs. We've done stouts. We've done porters and gozes.
Shandies.
Yeah, we've done pretty much everything that there is.
Cream ales.
I don't think we've ever had an ESB.
No, because no one really makes ESBs.
Yeah, it's not really a common thing.
Which is sad, because you talked about it before. It's like the nice middle ground between a pale ale and an IPA, and
it sure is.
Yeah, no one. That's territory I would like to see.
More ESBs.
Stop, laying, trying to like double, triple, quadruple IPA.
Yeah. Oh, and that's that. As you mentioned, that we've never really done it double or triple or
quadruple. Because I don't really like.
No, I'm not a huge fan of like the Abbey style stuff, but But I mean, it's something that we got to do at some point.
It's to me like because the main ones I've had, Alma Gang.
Alma Gangs, yep.
Known for their Abbey Ale, which is a double.
Yep.
And the Three Philosophers.
And you're not really a huge fan.
Because the Three Philosophers and the Abbey Ale, I mean, it just tastes like the fruitiness of those.
Right.
It tastes too much like Robitussin, like you're drinking medicine. And by God, if you've ever had Robitussin before, you know that's the fucking work of the devil. If you're a child with a cold and flu.
Do you want what's supposed to be cherry flavored syrup that's actually just kind of
disgusting,
sugary and like
it's not even sugary.
Well, it's like
Robitussin's not sugar.
Overly sweetened.
You're thinking Diamond Tap.
No, that's grape. I know that.
I know, but like Diamond Tap's easy to get down.
I don't know. I get like Robitussin has like a very sicky sweetness to it.
Yeah, but like a nasty cherry, which is like when I was drinking. Like I only had Alma Gang's Abbey Ale once. I bought one of the big like 24-ounce wine bottles. It's one of the first Alma Gang beers I bought. 'Cause it was. I don't think it is any much more one of their staple beers, but it was at one point one of the staple beers, like right up there with the Hennepin, the Rare Voss, and the Belgian Pale Ale. Which Alma Gang, if you're listening, fucking make it.
Yeah, the Belgian Pale Ale, like that a lot. BPA. It's one of my first ones from them.
For the love of God, bring that back. But anywho, I remember just having that and just like, oh, that was like that was painful to drink. It's just like, tastes like cherry and figs and other things that shouldn't be in beer. That's just that's my personal style.
And we're off topic a little bit, but my point was that at some point we should probably cover those as well. So we'll do.
Well, when it's the heart of summer,
that's right.
We'll break out the
pull out the Abbey Ale.
We'll break out the Game of Thrones
doubles and triples.
We'll break out the Game of Thrones Heart of Darkness stout.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna move on to the faculty.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. All right, so the faculty. We're talking about the 1998 film from Robert Rodriguez, which is kind of surprising. As in, this doesn't really.
It's not really.
It's not really what you would consider a Robert Rodriguez film, especially at the time.
His film canon's weird. When you
It is really weird, isn't it? It's not really. It's kind of all over the place. Obviously, Spy Kids not really in the.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's weird. Yeah. You get the El Mariachi trilogy with Desperado and El Mariachi and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. But at the same time, like in between like Once Upon a Time in Mexico, you get like Spy Kids.
Right. You get Spy Kids, From Dusk Till Dawn, and then like what I'm thinking is that they just all feel very, very different from each other. Especially, maybe not so much From Dusk Till Dawn and the El Mariachi trilogy. Like those kind of go. You can see how those kind of go together. They definitely fit together. But then you get like the Faculty, which is more of a straight up body snatchers / like slasher / thing re-envisioning, and it just doesn't really seem to go with the kinds of things that Rodriguez is working with.
But I mean, now that you bring that up, in a sense it kind of does, because when you think of like Grindhouse, Planet Terror, Machete, those are all homage type
things. They are.
So this kind of fits in that sense, because the Faculty is essentially a homage remake
of Invasion of those Body Snatchers
and
The Thing. Many other films that are very similar within that canon. But I think what throws me off more is that this is more the tone of it doesn't really seem like a Rodriguez film.
No, I'd agree.
I think that's where Kevin Williamson's script comes in, because it's very much, it does feel like a Williamson film.
Wes Craven could have directed it.
Exactly. I mean, Williamson, we know, also did Scream. He did I Know What You Did Last Summer, which we'll be covering. And it's just it definitely feels more like a Kevin Williamson film than it does a Robert Rodriguez film. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything, but it doesn't.
He very well could have just taken the sure, paycheck.
Exactly right.
I got other projects I want to do.
Yeah,
I need the money and the credit to.
Yeah, I mean maybe I'm crazy, but it really doesn't feel like a Robert Rodriguez film, especially coming within like From Dusk Till Dawn, and even Planet Terror has more. I don't know what I want to say is his style, but it doesn't, like, this one doesn't even feel like Planet Terror to me. They're similar, obviously. They have a similar kind of premise to them, but they don't even really feel that similar. So it's kind of surprising, and, like, if you were watching this film, I don't really know that you would think, like, this is a Robert Rodriguez film, unless you really knew Robert Rodriguez directed it. Except for maybe Salma Hayek's in it as well.
That's
fresh off of
I know, but that's
From
the
Dusk
one.
Till Dawn.
I know. That's the one callback to
From Dusk Till Dawn that you get.
well, not just that, like, just like Robert Rodriguez, like casting style.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, because you know, with like certain directors, like with Scorsese early in his career is De Niro, now it's DiCaprio.
Yeah.
With Wes Anderson, you're always gonna get like Bill Murray, one of the Wilson brothers, Angelica Houston. You know. Same thing with Robert Rodriguez. You're either going to get, early in his career, you're getting Salma Hayek. Now you're getting all grown up girl from Spy Kids. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember it either. But yeah, I think the big thing, the takeaways from this is a Kevin Williamson scripted film, and it does feel a lot like a Kevin Williamson scripted film.
And you can tell it's Miramax because Jon Stewart's in here.
That's right.
Pre-Daily Show.
That's absolutely right. But this film has a lot of stars, actually. It has a lot of major cast. Maybe not so much in the kids department, like in the teenagers. Not a lot of them like really ever did a lot of things after or before. But you've got one of the big ones is Josh Hartnett. Even though for nearly, I said this, almost 45 minutes of the film, he's literally only in it for like 5 minutes. There's only like 5 minutes of him.
But you know this,
that first
but
45
he's
minutes.
the one that got the most.
Yeah, and
he gets the most out of this film. It's not like Elijah Wood was walking away from this film like, oh, my agent's gonna get calls off the hook now after this film.
No, probably not for him. But I mean, let's face it, Josh Hartnett, he may have gotten a little bit more, but this isn't really a standout film for him either. I mean, in this film,
I wouldn't say anyone stand out.
No, not really. But in general, for like Josh Hartnett, first of all, this isn't like him in a heartthrob role, because he's looking very disheveled and unkempt throughout the film.
The worst haircut of the 90s.
With like do-it-yourself haircut, which looks like he like maybe took a mirror and he had like one of the bowl cuts that was really prevalent in the.
It's not quite a bowl cut,
but exactly because.
Well, no, all right, no, you're right. It is a bowl cut, but it's not like the full fledged like the mushroom cut.
You rocked the mushroom.
I had the mushroom and like the low cut bowl cut.
Yeah. No, in this case though, it looks like he had a bowl cut and then they just chopped off pieces of it, like pieces of that mushroom, and then just like kind of left what was
and
what
let
was
it
there
like
and
gel out and stick. Cause like, oh, he's the disheveled kid. He makes drugs. You know, like,
I mean, it's not really a role where. I feel like a lot of 90s girls would have been like, he's so hot in that. Because he just looks super disheveled in this case. Yes, maybe Wicker Park or something. Then you're like, man, I want Josh Hartnett's dick in me. But in the Faculty...
like 30 days and 30 nights.
Yeah, exactly. But in the Faculty, not so much. Not so... You probably are thinking like, I bet his dick's really dirty. Or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, but he's fucking Famke Jensen.
Famke Jensen, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Maybe it is. I mean...
Right, exactly. I just think, like, for this film, to have him in kind of the lead spot in the posters and stuff like that, it's not really a Josh Hartnett-driven film to me. And that's why, like, when you questioned me when I said, I mentioned Elijah Wood before Josh Hartnett, because from my memory of this film, Josh Hartnett isn't even a big presence in it.
No,
and watching it again, he's not.
I totally forgot Elijah Wood was even in this film, and he's technically the main character. But like I said, when you walk away, who do you think of? You think of fucking Josh Hartnett, Robert Patrick,
Yeah. And
like Famke Jensen. That's who I think of.
You can't get her name right.
No, because it's
Famke Janssen.
No, because no, I'm not good with my Scandinavian, Eastern European.
That's okay. That's all right.
My bad. I'm sorry.
That's all right. And to a lesser extent, Clea Duvall too, as Stokely. Because I think for a lot of the film, she's a big part of it too. But I think that this is primarily an Elijah Wood film. He is meant to be like the geeky guy who no one really likes, but then ends up being the guy who can save them all.
You can almost say like this film is kind of different in the slasher genre because it isn't a female protagonist that saves the day.
It's not. Yeah, and this is very much a very loose slasher film. It's definitely a loose slasher film.
That's why when you because we talked about this together because when we decided what films we were going to do for this, when you brought up The Faculty, I was like, I don't really see it as a slasher film. Yeah. It's a sci-fi horror film.
Absolutely.
I do get the slasher aspect, but it's a very, very tiny part in the whole machine of the film.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, with this being an homage to The Thing, and it very much is throughout this film, very close representation of like The Thing, and it doesn't make that super obvious to like new people who are watching the film, but if you've seen the Thing before,
the Thing references I would say are pretty well done, and pretty clever,
changed up for this film
and clever. I'll say it's for the invasion of the body snatchers part. It's very on the nose.
Yeah, it is absolutely. But the thing I wanted to mention about The Thing is that when you think about The Thing, you don't really think about The Thing as a slasher film. It's totally far removed from what you would consider a slasher film.
You'd call it like a sci-fi,
like a sci-fi monster alien film. It's
horror, suspense. But when but if you do like get down to the nitty gritty, you could.
It is, but it's not. I don't think it's pronounced in that film as much as it is in The Faculty, because even though The Faculty does adhere to The Thing kind of closely, at the same time, the Faculty places more of an emphasis on the actual people before they become aliens. Even though we know that they're aliens and we've seen them, attack other people, it's the human element of that we see Robert Patrick in his human form attacking people or chasing people. I think that's what makes this feel and adhere more to Kevin Williamson's style of slasher film. So I think that's why you kind of get that melding of parts. So it's kind of like The Thing. It's kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's a little bit of a slasher film. And like you said, Kevin Williamson wrote this film quite a while before it was actually released. And so, as you well know, the mid to late 90s was like Williamson's jam at that time. It was like
he was making money.
Yeah, everybody was like, we want to make a good film like Scream 2. Get Kevin Williamson on the phone. Maybe he'll write us something.
Well, they're all Miramax films, like
exactly. And
they were just rolling in the Scream and Kevin Smith money at the time. Like,
that's right.
Like, oh, Clerks, is becoming a darling. Let's make Mall. Well, actually, no, Mallrats wasn't a Miramax. So like, let's do Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
But,
if we're being honest here, we're talking about The Faculty. It probably was a kind of a cash-in, a money-making scenario for Miramax and everybody that was behind it. Like you said, Robert Rodriguez probably took this for some money. Because you can see how Williamson kind of goes through the motions. You can copy much of Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing in this premise. And just kind of expand on it a little bit. Change it up just a little bit.
Set in high school.
Exactly. We'll put this in high school. we'll mold these things and change them a little bit and give it a sort of 90s grunge aspect where it's based on drug use and the misunderstanding between adults and kids. And then that's really what we see often in a Williamson film. There's always that sort of teenage angst and misunderstanding and also sexual tension, because there's a lot of sexual tension in The Faculty as well. There's a lot of sexual tension in Scream. That's one of the main elements of the plot.
If Cindy only wasn't a virgin.
If Sydney wasn't a virgin and she had a little bit better outlook on picking guys. There's a lot of sexual tension in that film with The Faculty as well. And I think that I don't think that The Faculty is entirely successful, and I think part of that is because it does feel like a very like and I would say a creative, but it's still a copy of Invasion of the Body Snatchers primarily, which you said it doesn't really do that much to stand out from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It even brings it up multiple times as like a meta commentary on like this is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Before like meta's really becoming a big deal.
I mean,
but what one of the problems like I have with that is like so the whole like idea and premise is very Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Right.
This alien has come. We don't know where. This has shown up, and they're slowly. No, not slowly. Rather quickly.
Yeah, actually a day and a half or something.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even feel to us, seems actually like more than a day and a half with what we see. It's more than, but maybe that's just the characters being like, we haven't seen it specifically, but yeah.
But within a day and a half, this alien is able to take over not just like the faculty, but this like most of the student body. And you get to see like from the very get-go when Robert Patrick is as your very stereotypical 90s
generic coach.
Gym coach, football coach, is wearing his short shorts, high white crew socks, and, cursing out his players.
And a whistle.
Yeah.
Whistle around his neck.
Calling them fucking idiots, and, you get to see him, like, sitting there, like, drinking water, like he's the guy from Men in Black as soon as he, the farmer gets taken over by the cockroach. He's like, sugar and water. He's just sitting there drinking water. So like the whole kind of mystique of what's happening which is part of the intrigue, as we talked about in our 78 Invasions of the Body Snatchers review. Part of the mystique is just like the whole like who is an alien? Who is it? We don't know. It's the whole paranoia trying to figure it out and what are the signs and stuff like that. And as the film goes on, progresses, and you get closer and closer to the end and the climax, it builds towards, okay, you know what it is, and now like you have these overwhelming odds to overcome. And this, right off the get-go, it's like, oh yeah, the aliens are here, and they're doing goofy shit like this.
yeah.
And so like that whole like intrigue, it's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways Williamson realizes that, by opening up with Robert Patrick in this obviously sinister role, very generic, that, he's realizing that there's sort of a meta commentary with this, and he's running with it because in later moments in the film, you do get to have that sort of surprise in that there's a couple characters that you really didn't suspect because we're given kind of a red herring throughout the film.
And they basically do it just for the sake of like, surprise!
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where they realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't have shown like the entire invasion right away from the get-go, because the first 45 minutes or so, pretty much everybody is already an alien. They've already been turned.
Yeah.
That's and at 45 minutes, we still got an hour. We still got 60 minutes of running time to go through this whole process of the kids
fighting off
the basically the faculty, although it could be students as well. It doesn't even need to be the faculty in this case, because literally everybody in town has now become an alien. But we still have 60 minutes of them in the school fighting off the teachers and all the aliens, and I just think that they probably wasted some opportunities there by showing so many people as an alien.
I think a slow build would have helped.
Exactly.
Like the same thing with like the Thing and the Invasion of the Body Snatch. A slow build would have built the tension, but at the same time, it's the 90s, man. We ain't got time for that shit.
Well, that's
we gotta. So
that's the thing with this.
It is annoying. I agree.
It's
like,
totally annoying though, because the film feels overly long at an hour and 45 minutes because of that.
Yeah, should have been 90 minutes.
Well,
if they were going to fast track it like they did,
exactly, yeah,
make it just get it down to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Make it
it really does not need to be an hour and 45 minutes to get everything across. It's very bloated, and part of that is spending so much time with our teenage characters, many of them who don't really matter. They're
not only that, fucking teachers. Like, you don't need 10 different teachers. You don't need 10 different, fucking ushers in this film. As being like the douchebag jock.
Usher's almost in it more than Josh Hartnett in some scenes.
Yeah, and it's like, is he really needed? No. You don't need him. You could have just had him show up in one scene, like when the football team's attacking.
Yeah.
You don't need fucking Jon Stewart in this film.
As much as I love Jon Stewart in this film, playing not just a teacher, but a damn professor at a high school. A professor at this rundown, rusted out water fountain high school.
In Ohio.
Yeah.
With a glorious goatee. Oh my god.
Such a terribly...
Pre-Daily Show Jon Stewart is a fucking gem to behold.
Yeah, that is a horrible goatee, by the way.
I love the fact that anytime Jon Stewart mentions his acting career, he says what a fucking awful disaster it was. Like, yeah, it was in such great movies like The Faculty, Half-Baked, and Big Daddy. And playing the same role, essentially, just like generic guy who's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, basically. I mean, as much as I love Jon Stewart in this film, just because he does it, it's so ridiculous. There's no reason for him. Because even when it comes down to him being a professor of science who knows like ridiculous amounts about unknown biology,
he decides to do like the stupidest thing that you would not expect someone of his ilk. Like, if you're a professor and like you found this potentially new species and then it got hit with water and all of a sudden it comes to life. After you just sent it to university, like, let's throw in a big fucking fish tank. And then it turns into like a fish type thing, like, I want to grab that thing now. I think you'd be like,
yeah, leave that alone.
I'm not going to touch that until we know what's,
Yeah, I mean, I love Jon Stewart. Don't need him. You don't need to focus so much on the teachers throughout, because very quickly, they all become aliens anyway. So we really don't need to know what they're like before or after, because
like you said, you don't need like Piper Laurie as you could have like her in the beginning, like show like how the whole intro goes down.
Yeah,
like her seeming normal, but then she turns out. But then you don't need her like randomly showing up at times. Like, what are you doing, children? All right, you can just move on from that. You don't need to.
And the reason that's so unnecessary is because the film makes it unnecessary. Like I said, we don't need to see the before of these teachers because we don't really see the aftermath of the effects, like when they actually become aliens. There's just so little time from when they're regular teachers to when they're now aliens that you don't even really get to see how much they've changed. The only thing that they really pronounce in this film is that, they drink a lot of water. So if you see anybody with a water bottle or any sort of water, then you know that they're an alien. This was before...
I do like throughout the film you slowly see them like rolling in more water.
Yeah.
That I do like that.
This is actually before like the rise of everybody drinking like bottled water. So like now, if you were to see people with like
in the 90s, that's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. If you were
you should be drinking Fruitopia, man.
If you were to see people now, like just having tons of bottles of like Fiji, I mean. And Fiji or like Aquafina or something like that.
Well, that's weird because Fiji's expensive for no reason.
No, but I'm just saying like it's very prevalent. If you see that now, you'd be like, you're health conscious. But back then, yeah, having a giant like natural geyser bottle of water, like one of them is like 64 ounces.
Yeah, no, there's a few kids with that. Like when they start to notice like our main little cadre of characters walking around the school. Like you do see like some of them like with those big 64-ounce bottles
of water.
And it's like I don't remember ever in the 90s seeing fucking bottles of water like that just being sold. Like I'm just gonna. That's why I said this would be so much better. Like this would have been a perfect opportunity to get some money for this film with a fucking spot. Like you said, should have been Fruitopia they were running on. Have like Fruitopia or like Snapple when they were doing like the earth, fire, water, like those like
Sobeys.
No, like, do you remember like those like really like late? It was late 90s. It was like a Snapple, and they were doing a different line. It was like Snapple fire. And it was like this. They were all in glass bottles.
Yeah.
These sleek little bottles, and they had like this totally 90s logo on, like fire, water.
Yeah, weren't they called Sobe? Sobe stuff?
No, it wasn't Sobe.
It wasn't Sobe?
No,
Snapple had their own thing?
Yeah, it was Snapple.
I don't know if I recall the fire things for Snapple.
Google it.
Well, I don't.
Google it.
I mean, yeah.
When you see the bottle, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I do remember those. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Did someone start a petition to bring those back?
I mean,
I do remember those now, actually. You're right, yeah. Because that was a big, it was a big thing.
Yeah, if Surge can come back, that can. You just look at those bottles, and if you're listening to this and you don't know what we're talking about,
Google them.
Google it. Because if you live through the 90s, you'll see that and be like, oh my, like it'll come back.
Yeah.
Like the Celine Dion song. It's all coming back to you.
Yeah.
Another great 90s reference. We're just on a roll.
And there's the Fruitopia right there, too.
We had a huge Fruitopia vending machine at school.
It was very popular. But you're right. That would be really funny. To have them just like we're aliens, we need to drink Fruitopia to survive. But like what I'm saying is that like we don't really know much about these teachers, even though we do spend quite a bit of time like following them for the first part of the film. There's not really enough for us to really feel like we knew them.
Well, they're all stereotypes. The coach is Robert Patrick's your stereotypical asshole, like fucking goddamn useless kids, catch the fucking football.
Yep.
The principal is your stereotypical, I'm a hard ass and we're gonna do things this way. Piper Laurie is the drama doesn't really have a character, but I mean, but then again, you can say her name because I can't say it.
Famke Janssen.
Famke Janssen. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. She's like the timid lit teacher.
Yes, exactly.
Who's apparently fucking or wants to fuck Josh Hartnett. But, I mean, she doesn't... Why is she in this movie? I mean, I like she's getting work. Because I think she's a good actress. Loved her in GoldenEye, Xenia on top, and as, in the X-Men movies as, Jean Grey. But...
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, what's her point in this film? Just so you can have her being like the kids. What does Caruso want? And no one's fucking listening to her. And then then she gets taken over by the alien. She's like, I'm a fucking bitch now.
Yeah.
Look at me. And then she goes back
and again,
to
the sexual tension.
Which again, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, are they fucking? Are they not? Like, I don't
think they're. And in the beginning, I don't think they're actually fucking. But it's like sort of it's disrespectful from Josh Hartnett's character to like offer up the condoms, and then I think that becomes a thing later on.
And the laxatives,
yeah. But I think that becomes a thing later on, and actually, towards the end, once the alien race has been decimated and everybody goes back to normal, I think that's a really interesting, and I'm not sure if it's intended, but it's a really interesting thing to have Josh Hartnett on the football field looking at Famke Janssen in the stands, and they kind of share this thing like now they're definitely fucking. But is that a crossover from like how they've all changed a little bit since their alien?
Yeah, her.
That doesn't really come out
to cure her of her timidness. All she needed was some 18-year-old dick plowing her.
No, but I don't mean that.
Because that's the same thing with
with Clea Duvall's character.
Yeah, Stokes Mitchell. Fucking, she's the guy. Again, it's a late 90s film, so you gotta have a goth chick who everyone thinks is apparently a bull dyke because she's goth. And everyone just thinks, oh, she's a lesbian. Muff dive. Again, what a glorious time tonight. Apparently Glad wasn't paying attention to any of these things back then. Because, like, muff diver, bull dyke, whatever. But no, she hooks up by the end with the fucking... The quarter...
the football quarterback.
Who now, who rejects being a football quarterback because he wants to be respected. He doesn't want people just kissing his ass. Which, one, bullshit. And two... But by the end, she goes from being a goth, then they're together at the end after this. All this happens. And now she's not a goth anymore. Her hair's clean. Her piercings are out. She's wearing lavender tops and skirts now. So it's like, again, it's like the movie's telling you. All she needed was some good dick to make her go from being a bull dyke to, an actual woman. So remember that, ladies. If you think you're a lesbian, just get some dick. If it's good enough... You'll think otherwise. Well, I think... What a time the 90s were.
I think that it's not really... I don't know if it's intentional or not. And I don't know if it comes... It doesn't really come out. But I think maybe the intended consequence of that whole endeavor at the end of the film is to indicate that they were taken over by a parasitic alien being. And they've sort of changed after... Even though that being has been eradicated, they've kind of changed... And they're not the same people that they once were. They may not be violent anymore, but they're not the same. And I don't know if that's like the intended, part of Williamson's plot, or if it's just supposed to, or if it's not really intended at all, and it just kind of...
It's a happy coincidence.
Right, it just happens. But that's what it seems like, and it almost seems like they're hinting at, like, there could be a possibility of a sequel where all those people who they thought... with the parasite was eradicated, they're just like lying dormant or something, and it's not really.
I would say that'd be stupid.
No, obviously, no. I'm not saying that's a good idea, but I think it's possible.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying I think at the end of the day, that would just be like,
yeah,
wow, that's a stretch.
Well, maybe that's why it never came out. Someone said no. Miramax was like, well, let's pull back on that. If Miramax said that, then it's probably not a good idea. One thing we didn't talk about, which we talked about, well, I wanted to bring up, because you mentioned Clea Duvall's character Stokely. No Jenko jeans again. What's up with that? Why 2 out of 2 90s slasher films that we covered?
Well, I mean, that's not really a goth thing. I was in the 5th grade, I wore Junko jeans. I wasn't a goth.
It's not a goth thing.
It was more like, these are really cool baggy pants. And then when I was riding my bike one day, I got snagged on my bike chain. And I went tumbling down a hill and snapped my leg in half.
And you're like, no more Janko jeans. that was the break that you were like, no more Janko jeans for me. No one said you look like shit.
In the 90s? No.
Janko jeans.
No,
I'm not saying that it's a goth thing, but I'm just saying I'm surprised that in 2 out of 2 90s films that we watched, no one's wearing Janko jeans. What's up with that? But what we do get in this film is some sweet, awesome 90s names. Those awesome.
Even better than Urban Legend.
Yeah, even better than Urban Legend. Because I thought this was a last name. It has to be a last name, I'm thinking. When they mentioned Stokely, I'm like, oh, they're just calling her by her last name because they think she's a lesbian, or so she goes by. They think she's like on a sports team. She goes by her last name.
A lot of what guys like to do, call them by their last name. Oh, yeah, it has to be the right last name. So for me, Martin's my last name. That's why I get called by.
Martin's a good last name.
No one ever calls me by my first name. Because who the fuck cares? But with you, Barber's not as good. Ryan's more.
Yeah.
It all depends.
It depends, because, like, Barber was on the field, obviously. Like, if I was playing...
Well, that's different. If it's a sport, then, like, everyone gets called.
But, I was never Barber.
Yeah.
So...
But then you can look at, like, other friends. Like, you just gotta pick and choose.
Yeah, some things work, some things don't. It's just whatever.
But yeah, no, Stokely sounds like there's no way.
It's gotta be a last name. It's gotta be the last name. Then come to find out, nope, it's not. Stokely is literally her name. If you're gonna name your kid Stokely, she's not gonna succeed at a social game. It just now you're already setting them up
for failure.
If you name her Stokely, they're gonna think she's a lesbian. I'm assuming that's what the conversation the doctor had with the parents. Like, are you sure?
Before you sign this birth certificate,
are you sure Stokely
really,
is the name?
What about like Beth?
Yeah. Veronica. Veronica would be a much better name. No one would think she's a dyke.
Sounds like vulva.
Yeah. No. But like Stokely is one because I've never known anybody or heard anybody whose name is Stokely. That must have been like a Southern California name.
Which is great because this film takes place in Ohio. So
yeah, I've never heard Stokely before. I don't know anybody who's named that.
Casey
is a pretty common 90s name. It's not really that common anymore,
no,
actually,
it's not.
for a male name, really, but the biggest and the best in this film
takes the cake so far.
So far, out of the 90s names that we've heard, is Josh Hartnett's character, which we've refrained from actually naming right now, but his name is Zeke.
Zeke Tyler.
If that's not the coolest, because you know that kid's the coolest.
That sounds like a comic book, like a superhero's name.
Yeah.
Like, Zeke Tyler is just a normal person by day, but at night.
That is the coolest name. When everybody's saying Zeke, and they just are like, that guy must be awesome. He must be dealing drugs. I love it. But there are also some that are great. Like Usher's name is Gabe. Love it.
Santora. Gabe Santora.
Gabe Santora, yes. And
the best one is because it's simply a great 90s reference. Jon Stewart plays Professor Edward Furlong.
I don't know why that is a thing in this film. Is there like...
Because Robert Patrick's in it, so Edward Furlong.
I mean, is there some sort of intentional usage of that? I don't know, but it's pretty funny all the
You
time.
almost have to think so. Because you know what? Because when you talk about... we haven't talked about casting. We'll get a little bit more into that. A little bit. But you can tell Robert Patrick was cast in this film because of Terminator 2.
You would think, because in that first scene, that's he's almost like back in Terminator 2.
Yeah. He's essentially playing a T-1000, except he likes to drink water.
Do you think people sought him out because when he was doing his auditions, they're like, you are delivering the lines, but it doesn't really sound like human to me. It's like, it sounds off. It doesn't sound like a normal person would be saying these. You would be perfect for this film that we're in, where you're not really actually human at all. You're trying to pretend like you're human. Because this is the second film that he's done that is him pretending to be human. It's perfect. It works out, but I don't know if it's a good indication of like his acting ability. I mean, I've seen him in other things. He's also in he's actually been in Robert Rodriguez's TV series of From Dusk Till Dawn. So he was in that for a while. But I don't know if it's a really good indication of like his acting ability when in two films at the same time.
Well, that can just be typecast.
It could be, yeah. It could be typecast
because he just plays, that type of role.
But the one cast member that I think really just grabs this film and runs with it, Christopher McDonald.
Oh God,
he's amazing in this. He's only in it for 5 minutes, and he steals the show, hands down. It's like with Leprechaun 2 and Michael McDonald. Yeah. What's with the McDonald's?
What's with the goatees? Because Michael McDonald had a great barista early 90s goatee in Leprechaun 2. Christopher McDonald, for no reason. It's not like he was doing anything at the time that called for a goatee. He has a fucking brilliant goatee in this film. He looks magnificent. And then as Elijah Wood's dad, he just plays just the great smarmy.
Yeah.
I
mean, he's always good in a smarmy role. He's like, there's never a
talk
time.
about typecasting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this case, I think he's supposed to be less smarmy than normal. Because if you think of like,
well, he's not douchey, but
right.
but he totally comes off as like, oh, that guy's like
one movie that I know him very well in, besides obviously Happy Gilmore, is Dutch, and in that film, he really is a smarmy douchebag, and he's perfect in it. And you really absolutely do want to punch him straight in the face, which actually happens at the end of the film. But I watch that every Thanksgiving, and it's wonderful because Christopher McDonald is amazing in that film. But in this film as well...
Well, as I say, like in Dirty Work, the Norm Macdonald, Bob Saget directed film, which is very much like a fucking Adam Sandler film. Yep. He plays like that stereotypical role. He's fucking great, just being a smarmy asshole who,
Yeah.
I love him. He is great.
In this case, he's more reserved and not a douchebag, but he is like the father figure who is taking away all of Elijah Wood's stuff. Like, no more internet for you. We're taking the modem right out of here. And like we used in our introduction, taking the porno mags too. There's a really great touch when Elijah Wood falls out of his window and Christopher McDonald comes out of the house to get him, and he says, "What do you think you're doing out here?" The best part of that, though, is when he still has the porno mags rolled up in his hand and just swats Elijah Wood back in the house. Why does he still have the porno mags? He left the bedroom like, we gotta presume, like a few minutes ago. Why is he still the porno mags?
Maybe he was going to slap the bitch.
That's right. Maybe he was. Maybe he was.
You know what his best? I think that his best movie role is The Iron Giant. He's great in that. There's the government agent who comes to town to find the Iron Giant. He plays such a great cowardly, smarmy asshole in that. But no, he really is great. So like in this, it's just like, even though it's like I said, it's like a 3 to 5 minute little part. He's just like the way he like points at Elijah Wood. He's not just like pointing at him. He's like doing like a devil horn, like pointing at him.
Like pointer finger and pinky finger together.
Listen here, mister. No stereo, no internet, no phone. Bye. And his mom's like, what about his porno? He's like, oh, porn. And he knew exactly where to look, too. Like, wasn't like, well, you're hiding the porno. So, nope, lift the mattress up. No, there's your pornos. That's what you're beating off to.
Yep. No, I love him in this. It's a fabulous role for him. And I think that just the slick back hair and the goatee really makes the whole thing
I thought it couldn't get any better after Jon Stewart's goatee in this movie, but I was wrong. Mm-hmm. This is even better. And more inappropriate, because you would never look like Jon Stewart in the late '90s before the Daily Show. You could see him like, I'm gonna grow goatee,
Yeah, ooh. A little bit of a mullet, little goatee.
But I mean, Christopher McDonald, I would never in a million years picture him with a goatee, and you get it here.
In that regard, yeah, not like it is in this film.
Fresh off of Leave It to Beaver, you get a beautiful goatee. It's awesome.
So what do you think of like the actual monster effects in this film? Because for the most part, there's not a whole lot of actual like huge alien encounters. It's more so like a little bit of CGI, a little bit of practical effects, like a little bit of makeup effects. What do you think of that? About that?
I think the practical effects are pretty good. I think when they do use them, it does look pretty good. Like, Miss Burke, the one teacher, when she's in the shower and you see like the hair falling, like
that's really good. That's a really good.
That looks really good. That's actually pretty, creepy and a really good effect.
Yeah.
So I'll say like the practical effects are pretty damn good in this film. That is one of the pluses. However, the CGI in this film that they use for like the Queen Alien and good God, is it bad? It is. Has not and will not stand the test of time. It's only going to get worse and worse as we go on. Like, just like watching it, it's like, man, you could tell when they made it, they're like, cutting edge technology here. And like, people are going to be looking back at this saying like, wow, this is just fucking great.
Well,
And you look at it now, it's like, it's pretty cringy.
Well, as you said, though, too, the alien design isn't really that scary or, like, creepy at all.
It's
like,
goofy.
It's goofy. Like you said, it looks like like, especially in the water scene in the pool.
It's like octopus, catfish, and the bug from Men in Black.
Yeah, the face shape of the alien itself does look like a catfish. Like they modeled it specifically after a catfish.
They took like because the whole teeth thing and like how they show that, it's like, oh, they're trying to go like with xenomorph. But then like the model of the head for like the actual alien, after you see like the whole teeth bit and whatnot, you get like a little xenomorph, but then it's like catfish, octopus, cockroach.
Yeah.
It's like
very much like the Thing as well.
Yeah, so it's which, but like, by the way, like the whole scene where you see
they're all is that what you're talking about, where they're testing each other?
no, when the teacher's head's walking around.
Oh yes, yeah, the tentacled head.
Yeah, directly from the Thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks, because they do CGI for that. That looks awful.
Yeah, it does look really bad in that, and it's egregious because in the Thing it looks really good.
Yeah,
and you can tell, like, wow, they just don't.
They spent so much time on getting the. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But no, it looks terrible. But at the same time, you can tell, like in like late '90s, they saw that like, man, what a time to be alive. This is gonna be this is the shit of the future.
I don't think the faculty is really that tense or scary. It really doesn't have very many moments where the scene is coming together in a way where it's just not nerve-wracking. And in some cases, as the film runs longer, it's almost kind of boring. It's almost like some of the pacing to the stalking scenes is ridiculous, for one thing, because it's unnecessary, because we know that the Queen is massive. So if the Queen's that massive, she doesn't even need to be in human form at that point and make it that much slower. Well, and it's like a stalking scene that doesn't need to be.
Well, and as I said, that's where the whole tension of the film's gone, because the whole intrigue in Invasion of the Body Snatchers is that whole build up to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you know from the get go, hey, this shit's already happening.
Yeah.
Then you don't really have an intrigue, because it's more about bullshit high school drama.
Yep.
Of Elijah Wood, no one likes him because he's the goofy geek that people just don't relate to for some reason. And Jordana Brewster as Delilah, she's just a bitchy cheerleader and newspaper editor. Because it's
both.
It's a 90s film, so like Urban Legend, you gotta have somebody who works for the school paper who wants just hard-hitting facts, you know. Where's that in our news today?
I know.
Hard-hitting facts. But, so yeah, and again, like, so you get character tropes from your main cast. So they're boring as it is, because again, you're getting a jock, a goth, a bitch, a nerd, and the fucking outside tweaker.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all stereotype, and then, like I said, it's just weird. It doesn't gel. Like again, I think if you're gonna do a whole, let's do an homage to like the Thing and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, stick closer to it.
Yeah.
Because this whole, like, I think that idea could work in a high school setting. Don't put it in like a base. Don't just put it as people in New York City. Make it be like set in a high school. It can work, but then you have to get the pacing right, and you have to make your characters likable. And no one, like, outside of Christopher McDonald in this film, no one's really likable. They're just. It's not even that they're unlikable. Except like Jordana Brewster's Delilah. She's a bitch, so you don't really like her. Well, other than that, no one's really likable. I mean, I think Claire Duvall, Stokely, she's probably like out of the main cast, she's my favorite because she is relatable in the fact that if you ever gone through high school and have to dealt with people's bullshit, you cannot relate to her, and like, so she's relatable, but at the same time, she's not, because it's a very much a stereotypical, like, again, 90s bit, like, goth person who's an outsider, like with Urban Legend. And so no one in this film's really likable. Even Elijah Wood's not really likable in this. He's just like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, he's
here.
kind of a whiny person.
He's a whiny little bitch. And then he's just as shallow too, because at the end of the film, he ends up with Delilah, the cheerleader, popular girl extraordinaire. Which the whole moral of like that whole point kind of goes out the window.
Well, maybe she learned her lesson. Don't be so terrible.
Don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
But no, like the lesson, you don't even really get the lesson though, because she's gone for like the last third of the film.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she's not there for a lot of the film.
Yeah, so I mean, it like the whole that whole relationship, like the whole Stan and
Stan, Delilah,
that makes
triangle thing that's going on.
That makes more sense. And Stan, we haven't really mentioned him, the football player who wants to stop being the star quarterback because he doesn't want people kissing his ass, is played by
Sean
Hatosi, who looks like fucking low rent Corey Matthews, aka Ben Savage. That's what he looks like. I thought when I saw him come on, I was expecting when this boy meets world.
Yeah,
but I mean, like at least the relationship he then develops with Stokely is more believable. It's totally along the lines of, as we said, like when we were watching it, like the Breakfast Club of like.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense.
He's Emilio Estevez. She's Ali Sheedy, and like she's the goofy outsider, and he's the jock. And then by just spending time, they get to know like, hey, maybe we have more in common. That makes more sense.
Because that's what he wants to be. He wants to be. He doesn't want to be so much of a jock anymore, or like a mean guy or anything like that. He just wants to be.
And she doesn't want to be
normal.
an outsider. She wants, She wants.
Yeah. With like Delilah and Casey, you don't really have that scenario because all you really know is that Casey really likes Delilah because of her looks. He's very attracted to her. He has pictures of her that are blown up on his wall. And so he's kind of almost stalking her in a way. And he just thinks she's really hot. And that's, that's the main crux of that. Is that because Casey saved everybody, now he's obviously awesome to Delilah. She's getting wet from that. Because she's alive, and she's like, well, you
didn't shoot me in the head.
You didn't shoot me, so... And then he likes her because she's hot. So there's no real moral to that aspect of it, yeah.
I'm not saying you have to have a moral, but...
And then probably at that point...
I think that's like just like...
And then
totally...
at that point, like with Casey being the sort of final guy in this scenario, he should die at the end. Because... he's breaking the rules of like what you would get from a normal slasher film. Having sex and making out with the mean girl. Well, no, you know what? The killer's gonna come up and just stab you right in the neck, and I know
Clay Duvall should have been the hero if you think about it.
Like, really, basically, yeah.
But no, that whole part does like annoy me because it's just like that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like a
little bit.
I don't really see that as like what a happy ending. Because after like the whole thing happens like 1 month later, and then like you see everything's back to normal in school,
Yeah, except for like a couple people died. The principal died.
John Stewart's okay. He got stabbed in the eye and like turned into like white shit. But no, he's back. He's got a fucking eye patch now. And
yeah, but yeah, like the principal's dead.
The other teachers, Miss Burke, who's she's dead.
Yep.
That they found in the shower. And
yep.
It doesn't make any sense either. Like, it makes national news, and they're like, the FBI investigating. No one's really sure what happened.
Yeah, it's like, well.
And on Time Magazine, they got Elijah Wood standing like he's on fucking Pawn Stars with his arms crossed, and they're like, truth or myth, the story, and blah, blah, blah. Fucking, that's like, that annoys me. That's like...
Yeah. What do you think about the whole, like, drug storyline? That...
pointless.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke's manufacturing drugs, which they're not really drugs. It's fucking no-dose crushed up into...
with some other stuff, he said.
With some other household things. Like, what are we talking, though? Are we talking Comet? Like, because that seems pretty dangerous if he's... This smart scientist guy is combining... No-Dose and Comet or something like that, but it's some sort of white powder, so who knows, maybe it's just sugar or something. But it's whatever it is. It's basically just caffeine and crushed up into like a powdery form that people sniff in. So yeah, they get like an initial high of caffeine. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense because everybody's acting like they're on some sort of like ecstasy or something.
Well, you know, it's funny is the way they're like, as soon as like Elijah Wood takes it and he's giggling and laughing. It's like, what's you like? Is this Joker gas?
Yeah, I don't know
like,
what. Yeah,
are you gonna get him dying with like a smile on you? Like, yeah, I hate you.
I don't know why caffeine would make somebody do like all of a sudden, like if you drink a cup of coffee really fast. Are you like, everything's so fucking funny to me right now?
No, but if you drink Mountain Dew, that's what happens.
I guess so. No, it's supposed to chill you out while you're gaming.
Have you tried the Dew USA?
No, I have not.
You should try it.
I'll have to give it a shot.
I bought some for our friend, Matt, because I'm not drinking soda anymore, but I did try a sip of it. It tastes like a bomb pop.
I bet.
What an awful... They know their They know their demographic.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Fucking USA, red, white, and blue Mountain Dew.
All right. So, out of 10, what do I want to do? 10. I don't know what I want to do here. I gotta think of a rating scale on this one. 10. I don't have anything.
Out of 10 Christopher McDonald goatees.
10 goatees. What would you give the faculty?
I'd give it a 6.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's not really one of those films that you. I mean, I honestly think it's a little bit better than Urban Legend.
No, I think this is better than Urban Legend.
I mean, when you're coming back to it,
even if I take the nostalgia away from this film, or I said like with Urban Legend, I gave it a 5.5, and I said even if I didn't count for nostalgia, I'd give it like a 4 or something because it's a very boring film. Even if I didn't have like nostalgia for this film and just like the love of like the '90s goofiness, I would still say it's a 6. Because though it is overly long and plotting and full of bullshit, I think there's enough interesting things in this film that make it a not miserable watch, and you're not gonna love it, but there's gonna be some enjoyable things.
Yeah.
So the soundtrack being one, just the fact that you're gonna hear Creed, you're gonna hear The Offspring, you're gonna hear all these.
You're gonna hear a bad rendition of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, miserable rendition. But it's got enough there. I think the idea of taking the Invasion of the Body Snatchers and the Thing and kind of modernizing it, even though, God forbid, it's only been fucking 20 years, but modernize it already for every generation. I think it's an interesting idea, but I think it's terribly executed on the idea. I think the whole mystique is kind of lost on the fact that they give away the whole paranoia
right at the beginning there.
So there's no suspense to the film. And the fact that half the film has good practical effects and the other half has, by today's standards, god-awful CGI, the whole suspense is ruined. And I think the fact, too, that the cast, though enjoyable for their campiness, is not noteworthy at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, besides Christopher McDonald's short cameo, Jon Stewart's little bit, which are they are intentionally. I mean, I wouldn't say Christopher McDonald's intentionally goofy. I think that's just him being him, and it's great. But Jon Stewart's intentionally supposed to be kind of goofy. But I mean,
Daniel Von Bargen's there too.
Yeah, and playing Daniel Von Bargen,
basically. Yep.
But I mean, outside of Clea Duvall, no one's really good in this.
No.
Elijah Wood is not good in this.
No, he's not,
This is not a showcase for Elijah Wood, of the things that he would do later on. This is not a showcase of what Josh Hartnett's capable of.
Right.
Salma Hayek's here because it's a Robert Rodriguez film.
Yeah, she's very underutilized.
And it's not even like, hey, Salma Hayek and her tits are here. It's
no, not really.
It's just, hey, Salma,
it's actually more like Salma Hayek is a frumpy nurse in here who's sick.
Yeah. And like it has a pill. Yeah.
I honestly think maybe she was literally sick in this film.
Well, same thing with Famke Jensen. the whole up to this point, like she's known for doing like seducting roles,
right.
and playing them very well. But in here, she's not even really that. I mean,
a little bit, but just not.
But it's like she goes from frumpy teacher who can't, doesn't have a backbone and is afraid of her students and has a crush on one of her students.
Yeah.
So when the aliens take over, now she's a bitch, which makes no sense. Why would the alien taking her over all of a sudden making her, while they neuter everyone else to try to kind of blend in, all of a sudden she's coming up, I'm the cunt that's gonna, tell you what's what.
Right.
So like even that's like, and I'm not blaming her for it because I think that's more of a directorial thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a screenplay thing. But I mean, like I said, it's just no one outside of Clay Duvall it really sticks out in this.
Interesting tie-in. Phoebe Jansen was in Lord of Illusions with Daniel Von Bargen, so they probably came as a package or something. I don't know. Just a little fun fact there. I gotta agree with you. I can't remember what I gave Urban Legends. I think I gave it a 6.5.
You gave it, I think, a 6.
And I would give The Faculty like a 6.5. I think that it is overly long, hour and 40. I kind of hate saying that because I feel like we say that a lot on the podcast, but
maybe.
But I mean, I really do. I think it's overly long. The hour and 45 minutes, like that final conclusion, it takes a long time to get through it. It's not necessary to have it that long. I don't think that they needed a lot of the introduction to the teachers. We don't really get to see them that much anyway, so there's not really anything here that makes a difference. Besides basically maybe Robert Patrick we do need some of and a couple scenes of the other teachers before they turn, but not anything as
and Babe Newirth as the principal. But I mean at the same time, like I said, Piper Laurie as the drama teacher, Karen Olsen.
Yeah.
They spend like the first 20 minutes with like her with her being like with like Robert Patrick, like,
right.
we're part of the aliens, but then like just like that, she's gone.
Right. And we
didn't like what was the point?
I think if they did spend a lot less time on giving us that depiction of all of these teachers as aliens, it would be a little bit more suspenseful because you would just not know who you could trust. And you'd be right there with the characters because they don't know anybody who they can trust. They don't know anything. So I think that probably is a point in The Faculty that doesn't work very well for it. And that was where they really needed to take cues from Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing. Because in that case, there is a lot of paranoia. And in The Faculty, there's not that much paranoia, really. It's almost undercut by the fact that, like, at every turn, we find out really fast that people turn into the alien, and that's it. So 6.5 from me. Anything else you got about The Faculty before we close this episode out?
No, that's about it.
Yeah. So next week, we're doing I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Can't wait.
That'll be a fun one. I have not seen that one in years. And I'm very excited to revisit that. It's another Kevin Williamson film.
It's a Freddie Prinze Jr. film.
That's all that needs to be said, really, is Freddie Prinze Jr. And, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Well, that was an indication of things to come. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar together.
The Scooby-Doo movies, yeah.
No, not the Scooby-Doo. I mean, they literally are together. They literally are married.
And the Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah, well, yes. Apparently, you just can't get over that. This is Scooby-Doo movies.
Have you not seen the Scooby-Doo movies?
I don't know. I guess not.
Maybe it's time we do the Scooby-Doo movie. We're gonna drop the 90s slasher month to do the Scooby-Doo.
Just do Scooby-Doo movies. But yeah, next week we're doing I Know What You Did Last Summer. We're gonna try to fit a bonus episode of Alien Covenant in here at some point as well, because it's gonna be releasing very soon, and we do want to try to put that in here.
After seeing like a new IGN video about like the aliens timeline, I almost feel like the app for Covenant, I'm gonna have to see Prometheus now.
I think we're gonna have to see. I'm we're going to have to try to watch Prometheus before Alien Covenant. Definitely. Because that is the timeline. It's Prometheus, Alien Covenant into, as far as I know, from Alien Covenant into Alien.
And then Aliens and Alien
right,
3
exactly.
And the rest of it.
So,
yeah, I know, because I watched a video today about like the timeline, and from like what they were showing from Covenant, it's like they were talking quite a bit about Prometheus, and I was like,
yeah, I think we're gonna have to watch it before, which shouldn't be a problem, but at some point we'll fit it in. But yeah, we want to do a bonus episode about that, so keep that in mind. That may be coming out soon. Other than that, we're gonna continue our 90s slasher month. The last one after I Know What You Did Last Summer is Halloween H2O.
can't wait for that one either.
And then there's perhaps a secret one that we haven't announced yet.
It is a secret.
And we're not telling, right?
No, it's gonna be a post. You know what? Post things on Facebook to tease when it comes up to it. Like, what? See if anyone can guess what it is.
Yeah. It'd be fun. You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be a blast.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy it.
You're going to enjoy
That might be my favorite one to do.
it.
Actually, no, I lied. It's going to be my favorite one to do. Because it's got some of the best things in the world in it.
All right, so we will see you next week for I Know What You Did Last Summer. Thank you for listening. A little bit of administrative duties. You can check us out on iTunes and pretty much every other podcasting app that you use, because we're on all of them. We're on SoundCloud, on Stitcher, everything. We have a website. It's bloodandblackrumpodcast.wordpress.com. Check us out. Click on some of our sponsors. Perhaps you would like a craft beer of the month. And if you do, please order from us. Check out our t-shirt as well. You can wear it and give us some advertising. We would really appreciate that. Also, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. Like us on there. We have a Twitter, Blood and Black Rum. Give us a follow. And obviously, we also have an email address. It's bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you like about the podcast, what you want to see covered on it. Also, tell us what your favorite Mexican beer is, because we're very curious to know.
I don't want shrimp tacos.
And as always, just keep listening, and we really appreciate you listening to us. Give us a nice review on any podcasting app that you use. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the continuation of our 90s Slasher Month. Have a good one.
Take care.